Welcome to the podcast. I'm your host, RJ Carbone. You are listening to BD4, where there's no better way to get your Yankees and Knicks analysis. We also do MMA. Yanks every series, Knicks every game, MMA on occasion. Let's get to it.
Anthony for three. Bang! That one goes down, and the game is tied.
I'd like to take this chance to apologize to absolutely nobody.
The Yankees are champions of baseball. Shaking and baking right here on the neophyte.
Trying to close the show.
She was doing a great job of feeding.
That is
It's over.
Don't you regret not coming to the Knicks? Don't you regret not coming to the
Game over. World Series over. Yankees win. The Yankees win.
I don't know what feels better about last night. I'm still trying to figure it out. Was it Embiid getting cocky late in the third quarter when they, I think, tied it up or took a 1-point lead maybe? And then the Knicks responding to that by going on this game-clinching run in the fourth quarter? I don't know if it was the Josh Hart dagger three, and then immediately after the camera pans to the Philadelphia fans and the crowd exiting the building. Was it the let's go Knicks chants in the second half all around the arena? Or was it early in the game where they showed Allen Iverson donned up and down in New York Knicks, in a Knicks color scheme? There were a lot of parts that felt good about last night. It just feels, it's always going to feel good to beat that team, and to beat that team in that city, in front of those fans, in front of Joel Embiid. It just always feels good because nobody, especially New York fans, likes Philadelphia. And I love to hate them. So that felt amazing, as the Knicks win last night at Wells Fargo. Shitty name for an arena, by the way. My goodness. But a big 111-99 win. You know, it was as sloppy but frustrating as ever. First three quarters of the game. You know, it was just so frustrating because it felt like the Knicks, with the way they were playing, should have been blowing this team out, or at least comfortable with a comfortable lead. You know, because their process on both sides of the ball was pretty good. However, it was tight for three quarters because, you know, Paul George was going off. I think he finished with 29 and 10. Brunson was ice cold. You know, he was shooting bricks. He finished 5 for 15. Was worse than that at one point. He had 6 turnovers, 18 points. He had an injury scare at the top of the third quarter. You know, and the Knicks were just playing very careless basketball. They had 16 turnovers. All of them came in the first three quarters. And it wasn't even the amount of turnovers. It was the quality of those turnovers. Just some careless, dumb decision-making that looked like they went out the night before. But they figured it out. They pulled away in the fourth quarter. They cleaned shit up. They did not turn the ball over in the fourth. They outscored Philly, I think, by 10. I don't have the numbers in front of me today, but 1 second here. Here we go. I just get a notification on my phone. Somebody sent me a text. Juan Soto is now following Rafael Devers on Instagram. Here we go again with that shit. That's like, it goes back to the whole Machado thing. People overreacting over that. Here we go again. He's going to be a Yankee. But yeah, they pulled away. You know, Brunson even had moments late where he was getting to the line. He had a couple of timely floaters at the basket. That was good to see that shot start falling for him. OG Anunoby, a number of big baskets in the fourth quarter. And so the Knicks win once again, 111 to 109. Oh, I'm sorry, 111 to 99 over the Sixers, who fall to 2-9. They're kind of banged up right now. Embiid just got back. Maxi's still out. We'll see what happens with them, but it was good to beat them. The Knicks never really let go. They had their foot on the pedal. Every time Philly took a brief lead, that was all it'd be. They never took a real lead in this game. It never lasted, and it was never a big lead. And so the Knicks officially clinch the first cup game of the 2024-25 season, if you care about that. I don't. But the NBA certainly does. I mean, the effort, it's all about money. They're all trying to make money, but like the effort that the NBA is putting into marketing for the NBA Cup, it's more than they put into the NBA Finals. You would think they'd care about the finals this much. I mean, between the ads, the commercials they're running for it, the ball design they showed last night, the court schemes, it's like, wow, I wish they cared this much and marketed the NBA Finals like this. Regardless, it was a good win just to get back to 500, and we hope to build from there. But I thought the defense, it was a nice bounce back performance. Thank God. Some miscues. They weren't perfect. They left the 3-point line open a little bit. I know part of that is designed because they protect the paint and they help the gaps. But I also thought there were some easy switches that the Knicks still aren't switching. They need to tighten that up. Anunoby and Sims late in the first quarter didn't switch, something that you need to switch when you got those two guys in the action. That's something you have to switch. That leads to an easy basket for Philly. There was a possession in the first quarter as well where Kyle Lowry sets a back screen. OG and Brunson don't switch it, and that leads to an easy back cut for Paul George to the basket. I feel like if the Knicks switch that, yes, it's a mismatch with Brunson on Paul George, who's likely going to just post him, but at least the Knicks have a chance there as opposed to giving up the easy lane. So there are a few instances last night where I was questioning. I really do just wish the Knicks would switch more. I know they have issues at 1 and 5, but even switch everything. Like, you have 3 wings out there. There should be no hesitancy when 2 of those 3 wings are in the action, or when you have a wing and Jericho Sims in the action. There are a lot of moments where I feel like the Knicks need to switch the action and they end up playing it straight up or just bringing help as opposed to just switching it. So I know Thibs is hesitant to do it with his 5s. He likes to keep his 5s in a drop, and he doesn't trust Brunson on switches because of the size difference, but whatever. Other than that, I don't want to spend too much time hammering the defense because I liked the defense last night. I actually thought the defense was solid, even from Karl Anthony Towns, actually. I thought he played solid defense on Joel Embiid, whether he's hampered or not right now. I thought he did a good job. I thought the Knicks did a good job bringing soft help to Towns whenever he had Embiid on him, just in case. But Towns had a good game, 21, 13, and 6. That's kind of becoming an average night for him, which is awesome. I thought he set the tone early with the scoring. He was letting it fly from the arc. He was getting downhill. He was punishing switches under the glass. He was an animal on the boards. They went away from him a little bit in the middle portion of the game, but they did end up going back to him late, which helped. So I thought Towns had a good game. Josh Hart with 14 points, 12 rebounds, 10 assists. So that was your first Knick triple-double of the year. He was everywhere doing his thing where he's just wreaking havoc, and he's the guy who goes off script, right? He just does everything in help. He's pushing the pace off of defensive rebounds. And he's really impressed me inside the arc this year. His 2-point game has been super efficient. I thought, who else? Jericho Sims continues to be solid. He got off to a rough start, but he's been pretty good the last week or so. Mikal Bridges, a fine game, 14 points, 7 for 13 shooting, 7 for 11 inside the arc. So he had a nice bounce back game. We'll talk a little more on him. OG Anunoby. OG Anunoby. Actually, we'll get to that right now. Let's hand the game ball among the starting units to OG Anunoby.
Bing bang.
I thought OG was great last night. 24 points, 6 rebounds, 2 assists, 1 steal, 1 block, 11 for 16 from the floor, 2 for 4 from 3, and he was a plus 18. I'm going to say something. At least so far, 10 games in, OG Anunoby has been the best all-around Knick. It's just between, like, I know Cat has the numbers, but the balanced two-way efficiency that you're getting from Anunoby this year has been so valuable. Where would they be without him and his three-point shooting? The spacing that he provides other guys, the defense, right? His help defense, his just, you feel comfortable watching OG Anunoby because you just feel like he's going to get the job done in whatever he's asked to do. You know, whether it's, guard down at the 1 or having to switch on a 5, or whether it's on the other end, just getting a basket. He's not hesitant when he gets the ball. He's super aggressive and he's sure on the attack. He knows he's going right for the basket. He doesn't screw around and over dribble. But his mid-range game has been pretty strong too. That's been a thing that's been strong since he's come to the Knicks. Didn't know he had that in his bag. I don't know if that was something he went to in Toronto, but he's done a nice job in the mid-range as a Knick. His defense was good last night. I know Paul George gave him some problems, but it's Paul George. But OG Anunoby, now his second game ball, I believe, on the season. Let me see if I have that right. Yeah. Feels like that's, it doesn't do justice because he's been really good. His second game ball in the season, but you look at his season stats here on the screen, and he's averaging 16 points, 5 rebounds, 3 assists, 2 steals, a block, 1 turnover, 50% shooting, 42% 3, 83% free throw. He's a plus 6, only 2 fouls per game, and that's across 37 minutes. So, it just excellent. Excellent. You're starting to hear reminiscences of, is this going to be an all-star season for OG Anunoby? I don't know. Especially if Brunson figures it out and Towns continues to be doing his thing. It's going to be tough to have 3 all-stars on a team. But I will say he could have a career year. And if he stays healthy, he's definitely going to make an all-defense team. But yeah, like, the offense has been better than advertised, I feel like. And he's shooting the ball much better from above the break too, which is something I kind of want to get into. That's helped. Like, you're seeing this offense, man, this is why even during these struggles, I'm trying to hang on and give them 20 games, because it is very evident the spacing improvements in this offense, the upside that it has to get the job done. It's why I hang on. Doesn't mean they're going to get the job done and win a championship this year, but in the year 2024, 2025, to have a half-court offense like this, it gives you confidence. It should have everybody at least holding on at the moment and waiting to see how this pans out, because it's got promise. It's perfect for this era. If there's one thing to watch, it's going to remain to be how the Knicks approach certain defenses, how they move the ball, how they get, or how many three-point looks they get off against more aggressive switch defenses. They do play at a very, very slow pace, so I don't think they're ever going to finish with a ton of three-point attempts, but I think if their shot diet, like the percentage of shots they get off is very three-point heavy of the amount of shots they take, that's a good thing. That's what I'm looking at. But they do have to figure that out because they're not great at creating advantages against the switch. So that's something you're going to have to just pay attention to. Advantage creation is where it all starts. But the very basic things are super impressive and much improved, even from last year. Just, the very basic, spacing, shooting, ball movement with the ball and without the ball. It's impressive. And you look at somebody like OG Anunoby, and obviously this is a guy who's always been able to knock down the corners, but his improvement on other spots of the floor in the non-corners, that brings a different dynamic if he can keep that up. He's been knocking down threes this year on the wings, above the break, like on the elbows, and that's going to provide spacing and critical baskets in pressure situations where you just got to find a kick out late in the clock or when the defense has collapsed. There was a possession late in the second quarter last night where the Knicks run a double drag in the empty corner. It's Towns and Hart screening. Drummond hard hedges to Brunson off the screen. Towns pops to the wing. George slides over to guard Towns because he's just got that shooting gravity. Now that opens up the short roll for Josh Hart. So Hart rolls. Brunson finds Hart in the short pick and roll. Hart finds Anunoby on the second side wing. Anunoby knocks it down. If he can continue to knock that shot down, that's very important, especially with Mikal Bridges not yet shooting well above the break. And his resume says that he's going to figure it out as a shooter above the break. That's just going to help so much with this team. So keep an eye on that with OG Anunoby. And yeah, with Towns out there at the 5, this is why you play him at the 5. He brings that shooting gravity, which is going to open up the paint and it's going to open up everybody else. Right? I mean, the amount of easy pathways to an open dunk that Anunoby got last night was because Towns was on the floor to draw Embiid and other guys out of the paint. His first dunk of the game for OG, the entire weak side clears out because Towns was up top drawing 3 defenders. As soon as he passes the timeline, he has the ball, and he's got 2-3 guys around him. That clears out the weak side, which OG cuts in for a dunk, and the Knicks get the basket. Like, just you're it's more of an eye test thing. I don't know how to explain it, man. If you watch these games and you pay attention to details, you see it. Third quarter, Brunson, he has Embiid switched onto him. He gets off the ball. He hits the second. He hits the second side, and this puts Embiid into space. And now that opens up a driving lane for Anunoby. Another easy basket. It's the 5-out spacing that allows the Knicks to do damage in multiple ways when they are in the half court. They're allowed to do. They can just attack you in many different areas, which they didn't have that ability last year, right? The first half of last year, their starting lineup consisted of Mitchell Robinson, RJ Barrett, and Julius Randle. Those 3 guys do not provide spacing. That's not tenable in modern NBA. But because you've got guys like this, you're able to open up the floor now. Late in the first quarter, the Knicks run delay action with Towns and Deuce, and because they're putting Philly in rotation, it ends up just being some excellent perimeter ball movement. I don't think they ended up making the shot because Matt Ryan shot a ball he probably should have kept swinging, but it's the ball movement that's opening up now. The second half, maybe there was a possession where the Knicks run an off-slotted pick and roll, an angle pick and roll with Mikal Bridges and Karl Towns, and that eventually results in Mikal getting it back to Cat off a driving kick once Philly was put into rotation. Just this is the upside. And they weren't even, they only scored 111 points last night, but it was other guys. You don't need Brunson to drop 30, and you're able to torch a defense like Philly. It was nice to torch Embiid. I mean, this guy's a walking hospital patient, and you had Nick Nurse testing the shit out of him last night defensively. I mean, with many different, they put Embiid in many different coverages. They had him at the level. He was in drop. He had switches onto Nick point guards, pre-switches in certain situations. So they made him work, the Knicks did. And I just think it's an offense that can make a lot of defenses work. Again, keep an eye on the defenses that have personnel to switch 1 to 5. That's my big concern. So I think the next step for me is I want to see this Knicks team score on a really good defense like Cleveland, like Boston, and then I'll talk myself into their offense really being championship caliber. But yeah, that's offensively. Deuce McBride, I'm going to hand the game ball to him once again off the bench.
Bing bang.
The best guy in the second unit last night, Deuce, 15 points, 2 steals. He shot 6 for 12, 3 for 8 from 3. He was a plus 12. This is like the norm for him now. And I remember I said that about Quickly when he was a younger player. Like that became a norm for him, and that held true. So hopefully Deuce McBride is this guy now who comes off the bench and is able to give you 12 to 15. And if he does that, he's a 6-man candidate. We keep bringing that up, but it's true. I mean, the confidence in the 3-point shooting, but it's he's showing you other areas too. He had an impressive couple of baskets last night in the middle of the first quarter. He has a left-handed hook shot that eventually falls, going off of his left foot, going left. Like, that's hard to do. You had in the second half, maybe, the Knicks ran an action that you're going to see. You see this action a lot with Denver. You see it with Golden State a lot. I forget the name of the action, but Deuce is coming up the floor with the ball. Deuce is coming up the floor with the ball. He hits McCall on the wing and post up, and McCall gives it back to Deuce and DHO with Deuce sprinting up the floor on the wing in transition. Deuce now has a straight line drive for the basket. I forget the name of the set. It's something chase something, but I'm not great with X's and O's, but it's an action you see Denver run a lot. But Deuce continuing to just do his thing. Now has 9 game balls in 10 games this season. So there's that. Because, yeah, it is the norm for him. It is the absolute norm. This season he's averaging 12 points per game on 45% shooting, 39% from 3, 80% at the line. He's a plus 5 across 27 minutes per game. So that should say 10 games, not 9 games, if you're watching the video format. That's a typo there, but excellent. Excellent. And, speaking of Deuce McBride, I noticed that maybe you're starting to see a new death lineup develop here. The lineup to begin the fourth quarter, which was a big part of that run the Knicks went on to end the game eventually, it was the starting 5 minus McCall plus Deuce. You had Brunson, Deuce, OG, Hart, Towns. And that lineup together went on a 13-5 run, plus 8 in the first 6 or so minutes of the fourth quarter together. I thought the defense with that unit was outstanding. And I thought OG Anunoby got some good looks at the basket, some other Knicks as well. Overall on the season, that specific lineup is plus 26 together. That is the 4th most used lineup with the 6th best plus minus on the team of the 5-man lineups the Knicks possess. But only 2 lineups above them have played double-figure minutes together on the year. So just goes to show how much impact they've had. They do give up a lot of 3-point attempts, but again, part of that is scheme. And I was having some fun on those filters. And if you plug Brunson out for campaign, the Knicks are plus 21 with that lineup in 3-point attempts. They get 21 more 3-point attempts up. than the other team. So, Cam's got a quick trigger. But it's interesting. I like that. I liked that lineup to start the fourth quarter. And then it's interesting when you take Brunson out of it, that you could still get some production. But not to say Bridges. I thought actually that Bridges and Towns showed a little bit of chemistry last night. That was nice to see because those two haven't really been involved in many actions together. But you saw that early in the game. Bridges was being featured more. I think the first basket of the game, at least for Mikal Bridges, was either a blind pig set or it was some kind of horns out set. But Towns finds Bridges cutting you the basket. Early in the third quarter, Bridges comes off a Towns high screen and Deuce finds him for a jumper in the mid-range. Late in the fourth quarter, Towns passes out of a double with the nice Jokic-like behind-the-back pass to Mikal, who's cutting from the weak side short corner. So you saw those two feeding each other a little bit last night. So I thought Mikal looked better. We'll see what happens with him. I'm still monitoring his three-point shooting. He was 0 for 2 last night. That continues to be a problem, especially, again, above the break. But his mid-range game has looked automatic. That's been great all year, especially that turnaround on the post. I mean, he was going to that against Oubre. He was going to that against that TikTok bitch, McCain. So I liked seeing that. So that was all good. That was all good with Mikal Bridges. I want to head to break. I'm thirsty. I need a sip of water. But when we return, we'll wrap this up. We have a few more things to discuss, though. So stay with us, and we'll be right back in a minute or so.
Hey there. Thanks for listening in so far. If you enjoy this episode, please give us a 5-star rating and review on Apple Podcasts. And if you're on YouTube, don't forget to like, comment, and subscribe. Thanks so much. You can follow us on social media as well. On Instagram, we're at BD4Pod and at Rob J. Carbone. On X, we're at BD4Pod and at RJCBD4. And on Facebook, we're BD4. If you're interested in our website, just go to www.bd4blog.com. You can subscribe to our blog on there right on the front page. Just like on the podcast, we cover Yankees, Knicks, and MMA. Also on our website are the links to the different platforms for the podcast. Thanks so much.
All right, welcome back to the show. The Knicks win 111-99. One of the things you saw right off the bat late in the first quarter, Tom Thibodeau expanding the rotation to 9 last night. Deuce McBride got 26 minutes as usual, but Jericho got his usual 10 minutes. And then after that, with Campaign back from the hamstring injury, he got 9 minutes last night. And then Matt Ryan, as the 9th man, gets an additional 9 minutes, making his Knicks debut. Didn't give you much, but he's not out there because he's a weapon. He's out there because you need to spare some other Knicks early on in the season with all these injuries. Now, I don't know if this was because of the back-to-back they've got. They've got the Bulls tonight, but we'll see. Me personally, I have no big issue with the rotation. As long as you run a full 8, the 6.5 is a little fucking crazy. I get it. The frustration, I understand it. It's early in the season. It's not sustainable for a full 82. And it's more about the minutes patterns than it is the total. It's about how long some of these guys are playing in stretches. But again, I don't think it's going to be like this all year. I think with the injuries, Thibs likes going to certain guys. He doesn't trust rookies. We know this. And Kolek might not be NBA ready defensively. But these are the best athletes in the world. And if the Knicks run 8 men for a little while until Precious gets back, I'm not going to yell fire Thibs on Twitter after a loss. I think we also have to remember the Knicks don't play an extremely fast brand of basketball. They play, I believe, the slowest pace in basketball. So that is kind of a big deal when it comes to these guys tiring out. They're not sprinting up and down the floor for 48 minutes. But it was nice to see 9 men. I would hope that we continue to do that, but if it cuts down to 8, the only thing I'd ask is let's at least have it be 8 and not like 7.5 in reality. I like that. I think Cam was eased into it last night, so I do think Payne's going to get more than 9 minutes. So if Matt Ryan isn't back out there, I think Payne will get extended run, but we'll see. It was good to see 9 men last night, regardless. Up next, the Knicks have the Bulls tonight, with a chance to go back over 500. Will it be the first time if they win? I think it might be the first time they're going to be over 500 this year. But yeah, they're 5-5 after 10 games, so it could be better. I might have predicted 5-5 back in a preseason episode or an off-season episode. But yeah, 5-5 after the first 10, considering Jalen Brunson's not right, and the fact that he's going to eventually right the ship, it's fine. I feel like last year when Brunson played poorly, the Knicks wouldn't win those games. So I hope we start winning like right now because they have an opportunity ahead of them. They've got a 4-game homestand coming up next with a pretty easy schedule. Again, they've got Chicago tonight, which is the second of this back-to-back. 7:30 p.m. game at the Garden. The Bulls have a fun offense. I think they take threes in volume, but I don't really know much else about them. Just that they're not very good. And then they've got the Nets for 2 on Friday and Sunday, and then Washington on Monday to close out this homestand. That's also the second of a back-to-back to follow that second Nets game. But yeah, this 4-game set, you would like the Knicks to go 4-0. I'll take 3-0. Oh, I'll take 3-1. But let's see what happens. It's time for this team to start winning games and finding some consistency here. So we'll see. That's it. We're going to head to our final break, get back, and wrap this up with our trivia question in just a sec. We'll be right back. Studio 69 Productions is a podcast production agency created by Leo Rodriguez to allow content creators to market their podcast. It's an online platform that will market your podcast or any other project that you're working on. Get in touch with Leo Rodriguez from Studio 69 Productions. You can find Studio 69 Productions on Instagram at Studio69NJ. Studio 69 Productions, where dreams are heard and born.
Thanks for listening to BD4, where there is no better way to get your Yankees and Knicks analysis. We also do MMA, Yanks every series, Knicks every game, and MMA on occasion.
All right. Welcome back to episode 743 of BD4. Let's wrap this thing up with our trivia question, and that will be that. Okay. For this episode, our trivia question of the day. True or false question? True or false? In 23 games against the 76ers in his career, OG Anunoby's 26 points last night was a career best. Is that true or false? In 23 games against the 76ers in his career, OG Anunoby's 26 points last night was a career best. True or false? That's it. I appreciate everybody tuning in. The Knicks win their first cup game in Trashy, Philadelphia. 111-99 at Wells Fargo. They've got the Bucks coming up tonight. They've got the Bulls coming into town tonight. So let's beat them, and let's start a little bit of a win streak, shall we? All right, everybody, I appreciate you all tuning in as always. Thank you very much, and I'll see you very soon. This episode was brought to you by Anchor.
Hey there! If you stayed the entire way through, we thank you immensely for it. We hope you enjoyed this podcast and that you come back for the next episode real soon. Don't forget to subscribe, comment, download these episodes, and share them with your friends as well. BD4 is a 5-star podcast simply because of you, and we'd like to keep it that way. Have a wonderful day. Go Yankees, and go Knicks!